Even for ladies, huh?
Yes. Yes, and that was kind of a.
So good.
No, no, I didn't hear the conversation. Okay, so what I was saying. Okay.
They're here.
Yeah, you can only go so far.
We're at 14. You know, with Montana being Senate minority.
Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cook,
Excused.
Coram,
Excused.
Danielson, Danielson, Donovan, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Henriksen, Heisey, Holbert, Huckes Lewis,
Good morning.
Kirkmeyer, Colker,
Thank you.
Lee, Lee,
Excused.
Liston, Lundin,
Good morning.
Moreno,
Good.
Excused.
Pedersen,
Was that Lee? Who is it?
Priola,
Mr. President, who is it?
Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott,
Sure.
Simpson, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Story,
Excused.
Winter,
Here.
Woodward, Zenzinger, Lee,
Here. Yeah, I'm texting her.
Mr. President,
Here. With 31 present, 0 absent, 4 excused, we have a quorum. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend Senate Rule 1B to allow someone other than a senator to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have heard the motion. This does require a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Rule 1B will be suspended to allow someone other than a senator to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, this morning we have Kaunabo and Zelin Hernandez here for Homeschool Day at the Capitol to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, guys. Good job. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Will the clerk please add Senator Story and Majority Leader Moreno to the roll?
Right.
Approval of the journal. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the reading of the journal for Thursday, April 21st, be dispensed with, and that it be approved as corrected by all these homeschoolers that will, oh, that's probably not a proper motion, Mr. President, that it be approved by the Secretary.
It only took 16 years for you to figure it out. You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 22nd, 2022, correctly printed Senate Bill 219, 220, 221, 222, correctly engrossed. Senate Bill 138, 150, 154, 178, 190, and 203. Senate Joint Resolution 12, correctly re-engrossed. Senate Bill 140 and 171, correctly revised. House Bill 1031, 1082, 1225, 1228, 1265, 1273, 1294, 1300, and 1311. House Joint Resolution 1017.
Committee reports.
April 21st, 2022, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 197 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 21st, 2022, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 201 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1067 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations.
Members, I don't know why on earth he would be here today. Perhaps he's going to testify in a committee to support one of my bills. But please welcome back to the chamber Senate President Kevin Grantham. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege.
The motion is to proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted, and we will proceed out of order. Senator Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my privilege to welcome the Christian Home Educators of Colorado to the Capitol this morning. I want to take a moment to thank CHEC and all of the other home educators throughout our state for everything they've done to fight for the rights of parents to choose the style and type of education their children receive. These parents and families are seeking to prepare thoughtful, intelligent, and competent students who will make up our next generation of citizenry in this state. Families are the bedrock of any society, and a parent's ability to choose how to best educate their child based on their needs and circumstances is one of the basic freedoms and rights of our country. For those of you who don't know, CHEC was founded in 1990, and ultimately what they do is to serve homeschoolers across the state and throughout the world through training, conferences, seminars, publications, resources, and even legislative work here at the Capitol to make sure that parents have all the tools and resources they need to effectively educate their children. Additionally, CHEC has a legislative liaison that helps us have a better understanding of how the upcoming legislation could potentially impact homeschoolers. This session, we have been committed to expanding educational choice for families. Our education system is hurting, and that is because organizations like CHEC and homeschoolers across the state that homeschooling is becoming a more and more viable education alternative that often performs above average when it comes to standardized tests. Well, all that being said, I'm honored to present this tribute to the Christian Home Educators of Colorado and the homeschooling families all across our state. And with your permission, Mr. President, I'd like to read that tribute.
Please proceed.
The Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened in the 72nd regular session of the 73rd General Assembly hereby extends heartiest congratulations and commendation to Christian Home Educators of Colorado and the homeschooling families across the state. In 1988, Colorado law affirmed that it is the primary right and obligation of parents to choose the proper education and training for children under their care and supervision, and that home-based education is a legitimate alternative to classroom attendance for the instruction of children. Since 1990, Christian Home Educators of Colorado has been an encouragement and resource to assist parents as they educate their children at home. We are grateful for their dedication to the education of Colorado students. The growing research on adults who are home educated indicates that they internalize the values and beliefs of their parents at a high rate. Home educated students score above average on achievement tests regardless of their parents' level of formal education or their family's household income. Additionally, no correlation has been found between the level of state regulation regarding homeschooling and the academic achievement of home students. The Senate of the 73rd General Assembly of the State of Colorado honors, thanks, and celebrates home educators and their home-educated children. On request of Senator Rob Woodward, given this day at the state capitol, Denver, Colorado, signed Steve Fenberg, President of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President, and I'd ask you to look around the chambers and the gallery right now, and you'll see perhaps the most packed we've seen in the gallery in a couple of years, and I'd ask that you stand and recognize them.
Senator Heisey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Members, we all have employers in our region that we value greatly. If you're in a rural area, you appreciate those that have been a part of the community for many years. So with that, the Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened in the second regular session of the 73rd General Assembly hereby extends heartfelt recognition and tribute to the Holcomb Portland Cement Plant. The Colorado State Senate honors the Holcomb Portland Cement Plant as the #1 building solution provider in the world, as well as a leading producer in the United States. Being located in Florence within Fremont County, the Portland Cement Plant has 140 employees who are in good family wages with benefits and has provided stable employment in the region for more than 5 generations. Having been operated as a dry process plant since 1996, Holcomb's first priority is to the health and safety of employees, subcontractors, and visitors. Holcomb has a commitment to sustainability with a net zero pledge by 2050. The plant is a leader among plants in the nation producing lower carbon blended cement, which is contributing to the state of Colorado's goals to lower CO2 emissions. It is working to investigate the development of carbon sequestration and utilization systems and alternative renewable energy sources. Their commitment is extended to the communities in which it operates and its neighbors in adjacent counties. Employees have worked to assist, improve, and support community education, youth and social welfare organizations, as well as its first responders. As of April 4th, 2022, the plant marked its 125th anniversary. For their service and dedication to their communities, the Holcomb Portland Cement Plant is highly deserving of this recognition and appreciation from the Colorado State Senate, and additionally for their significant milestone of 125 years in operation. On request of Senator Dennis Heisey, given this 22nd day of April 2022, State of Capitol, Denver, Colorado, signed Stephen Fenberg, President of the Senate. So today we are joined by members of Holcomb. We have Derek Deesh, Regional Director of Land and Environment, and Nicole Francis, and she is the 125-year anniversary coordinator. So welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, DU is a champion for hockey and got their nice up, but I'm not here to talk about them today. I am here to talk about another champion at DU. I have a tribute for Teresa Ligori Hernandez, Assistant Vice Chancellor for IT Campus Partnerships and co-chair of the Women's Leadership Council at the University of Denver. And the Colorado Senate recognizes and honors the work of Teresa Ligori Hernandez as a pioneer of women's representation in information technology, construction, and higher education. During her nearly 20 years as a faculty member at the University of Denver, Teresa has displayed unwavering commitment as an advocate for the rights and representation in women in making sure that everyone is valued in the workplace. Her trailblazing work in traditionally male-dominated fields has left our state and world better off. For her tireless dedication and advocacy and equality and being a role model for women and girls around the state, Teresa Ligori Hernandez is highly deserving of this recognition of appreciation and grateful from the Colorado State Senate. On request of Senator Robert Rodriguez, this day, April 1st, State Capitol. Colleagues, she's here with her son and daughter, Anthony and Sarah. Just want to give her a round of applause and thank you for the work she's done. And
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, as one of Colorado's oldest and most passionate wildlife conservation organizations, Denver Zoo's commitment to the care and protection of wildlife dates back more than 125 years. With the mission of inspiring communities to save wildlife for future generations, and through the support of its guests, members, donors, and partners, the zoo connects more than 2 million people to wild animals through immersive zoo habitats, engaging learning experiences, and impactful local and global conservation programs. Dedicated staff and resources towards wildlife conservation, rescue and rehabilitation projects, and provides the 3,000 animals that call its 80-acre campus home with the highest level of physical, mental, emotional, and nutritional care. Today, the Colorado General Assembly is here to recognize Denver Zoo's tremendous contributions to the world, to the Colorado community, and impact on wildlife conservation through the state and around the world. Many of us had an opportunity to enjoy some breakfast. You get a chance to see animals around the building. And I would ask members if you please join me in giving a warm welcome to the leadership at the Denver Zoo. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Coleman, thank you for that, because now I know why President Grantham was here today. Question is, was he here to see the animals, or is he one of them? Senator Fields. Third reading of bills. Consent. Will the clerk please read the titles to all the bills on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 203, Senator Fields and Smallwood, Representatives Lontine and Soper, concerning the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing's oversight of contracted entities providing services to the program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. House Bill 1300, Representatives Carver and Doherty, Senators Fields and Gardner, concerning local enforcement against human trafficking by allowing the adoption of local ordinances to prevent human trafficking-related offenses in illicit businesses represented as massage businesses. House Bill 1273 by Representatives Duran and Sirota, Senators Fenberg and Pedersen, concerning protections for election officials. House Bill 1311, Representatives Pico and Woodrow, Senators Woodward, concerning the correction of technical defects with definitions that resulted from a restructuring of the gasoline and special fuel tax in 2021. House Bill 1228, Representatives Roberts and Bockenfield, Senator Quorum, concerning the continuation of the regulation of pre-need funeral contracts and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations contained in the 2021 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making an appropriation. House Bill 1265, Representative Exum, Senator Bridges, concerning the continuation of the Education Data Advisory Committee in connection therewith implementing the recommendations contained in the 2021 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. House Bill 1294, Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Young, Senators Zenzinger and Gardner, concerning additional pathways to provide special education services to children with disabilities in charter schools and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 178, Senator Gonzalez and Representatives Valdez A. and Van Winkle, concerning the ability of certain marijuana licensees to change the designation of marijuana from medical to retail and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of all the bills on third reading of bills on the consent calendars, which is Senate Bill 203, House Bill 1300, House Bill 1273, House Bill 1311, House Bill 1228, House Bill 1265, House Bill 1294, and Senate Bill 178.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273.
Senator Sonnenberg will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273, and the majority office will take back that late bill paperwork that we processed. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as no vote on House Bill 1273 and House Bill 1265.
Senator Smallwood will be recorded as a no vote on 1273 and 1265. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that I be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273 and House Bill 1228.
Senator Lundin will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273 and House Bill 1228. Senator Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273.
Senator Woodward will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273. Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, ask to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273.
Minority Leader Holbert will be recorded as a no on 1273. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that I be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273, alone, unarmed, and unafraid.
Senator Gardner will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273. Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I wish to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1228 and House Bill 1273.
Senator Liston will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1228 and House Bill 1273. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to record it as a no vote on House Bill 1273.
Senator Kirkmeyer will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1273. With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 203 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Kolker, Jaquez Lewis, Story, Winter, Majority Leader Moreno, Buckner, Janal, Lee, Simpson, Rankin, Hansen, Kirkmeyer, please add the president. With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1300 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Gonzalez, Kolker, Jaquez Lewis, Story, Winter, Janal, Danielson, Pedersen, Buckner, Lee, Hansen, Donovan, Majority Leader Moreno, Liston, Kirkmeyer, Heisey, Woodward, Rankin, Priola, Smallwood, Rodriguez. Please add the president. Sonnenberg. With a vote of 25 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1273 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Henriksen, Gonzalez, Fields, Hansen, Jaquez Lewis, Majority Leader Moreno, Story, Winter, Buckner, Lee. With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1311 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 31 ayes, 2 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1228 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Gonzalez, Donovan, with a vote of 31 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1265 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Donovan, with a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1294 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Gonzalez, Minority Leader Holbert, Fields, Janal, Simpson, Woodward, Rankin, Priola, Smallwood, Donovan, Heisey, Bridges, Lee, Majority Leader Moreno, Lundin, Pedersen, Buckner, please add the president. With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 178 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Jaquez Lewis, Majority Leader Moreno, Janal, Lee, Smallwood, third reading of bills, final passage. Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 1031 lay over until Tuesday, April the 26th.
Motion is to lay over House Bill 1031 until April 26th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1031 will be laid over until Tuesday. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 150?
Senate Bill 150, Senator Danielson, Representatives Duran and Harrod, concerning responding to the missing Indigenous persons crisis and in connection therewith establishing the Office of Liaison for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives and making an appropriation.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the final passage of Senate Bill 150 on third reading.
Is there any discussion? Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. Today we have a really important measure before us, addressing the crisis of MMIR, which stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives. I want to thank you all so much for your support up to this point. For those of you who served on the Judiciary Committee, listening to the personal stories of trauma was important, and I think helped those of you who are less familiar with the issue understand what it is that we're talking about. Indigenous people across the state and across the country experience violent crime at an extraordinarily high rate, severely disproportionately high than any other group of people in the state and the nation. And for far too long, the state of Colorado has turned their backs and ignored the problem. Finally, this year, we are acknowledging the problem of MMIR, its impact on the Indigenous community, and coming to the Senate and the House with a solid solution. Establishing the Office of MMIR will help collect the data that we need to show where the problem lies and how to solve it. Why are our Indigenous friends and neighbors experiencing this violence at a higher rate than anyone else? What can we do to solve the problem? Providing support for families who are experiencing this kind of crime and loss. Coordinating law enforcement between the federal government, the state government, tribal jurisdictions, and local law enforcement. Utilizing a specialized alert system when someone does go missing in the Indigenous community, which is something that will travel far beyond even the borders of our state. We have the opportunity to listen to the leaders in the Indigenous community, including both of the tribal nations located in our state. But this also represents the wishes of the broader Indigenous community. Hundreds of tribal nations being represented in our local population. In fact, 70% of our Indigenous friends and neighbors do not live on reservation land. These crimes are not only happening in the reservation lands. They're happening all over. And finally, we have the opportunity as the state of Colorado to stand up and say, I am done turning my back on this community and ignoring the problem. We will support the Indigenous community, including both of the tribal nations in Colorado, who have issued formal support for this measure. We will provide the support to the families who are in crisis. We will collect the data that we need to make policy down the road. We will coordinate the local, federal, tribal jurisdictions of law enforcement to better serve the community. And most importantly, for those families who are still missing loved ones, we will find them. You cannot separate your support for the Indigenous community from this bill. And I thank each and every one of you for meeting with the community when you've had time, listening to them, and pledging your support. I sincerely hope that the governor will support the measure too. Thank you, colleagues, for your time and attention to this extraordinarily critical measure. I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 150 to help stop the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous relatives in our state.
Further discussion? Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Senate Bill 150. I want to thank the leaders of the MMIR task force, the chairman and the members of the tribes who came and spoke to us about this important issue. I am grateful to everyone who came forward and shared your testimonies as to why this policy is not only important and meaningful in terms of building and establishing that cultural competency that is so deeply needed within law enforcement agencies, particularly in those moments of crisis, but also because it is a meaningful step towards building and rebuilding trust that has so deeply been broken over generations. When we're talking about generational trauma and healing, this is a step forward, and I am grateful to the sponsor for being so diligent in ensuring that their voices are centered at every step of this process. I'm very grateful, and I ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 150.
The motion is the passage of Senate Bill 150. Are there any no votes? Senators Liston, Sonnenberg, Rankin, Woodward, Smallwood, Minority Leader Holbert, Kirkmeyer, Scott, Lundin. With 24 ayes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 150 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Rodriguez, Henriksen, Hansen, Donovan, Coleman, Gonzalez, Buckner, Janal, Lee, Majority Leader Moreno, Winter, Jaquez Lewis, Kolker, Pedersen, Story. Please have the president. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 190?
Senate Bill 190, Senator Danielson and Quorum, Representative Ortiz and Sullivan, concerning the creation of a United States Space Force special license plate in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 190 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 190. Are there any no votes? Senators Liston, Sonnenberg, Smallwood, Minority Leader Holbert. With a vote of 29 ayes, 4 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 190 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Fields, Jaquez Lewis, Bridges, Gardner, will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1082?
House Bill 1082, Representatives Hooton and Bacon, Senator Gonzalez, concerning the enforcement of state housing laws by the Department of Law and in connection therewith establishing a fair housing unit within the Department of Law.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I move House Bill 1082 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1082. Are there any no votes? Senators Sonnenberg, Heisey, Minority Leader Holbert, Liston, Kirkmeyer, Gardner, Woodward, Priola, Smallwood, Rankin, Lundin, Scott. With a vote of 21 ayes, 12 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1082 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Fields, Buckner, Lee, Winter, Story, Jaquez Lewis, Majority Leader Moreno. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1225?
House Bill 1225, Representatives Hooton and Will, Senators Fenberg and Jaquez Lewis, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Resiliency Office in the Department of Local Affairs and in connection therewith implementing recommendations contained in the 2021 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1225 on third reading and final passage.
Further discussion. The motion is the passage of House Bill 1225. Are there any no votes? Minority Leader Holbert. Senators Liston, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Heisey, Simpson, Sonnenberg, Woodward, Rankin, Scott, Lundin, Smallwood. With a vote of 21 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Bill 1225 is passed. Co-sponsors on House Bill 1225, Senators Hansen, Janal, Lee, Fields, Gonzalez, Bridges, Moreno, Story, Winter, Pedersen, Buckner. Will the clerk please read the title bill to Senate Bill 138?
Senate Bill 138, Senators Hansen and Priola, Representative Valdez A. and McCormick, concerning measures to promote reductions in greenhouse gas emissions in Colorado and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 138 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 138. Are there any no votes? Senators Sonnenberg, Heisey, Simpson, Gardner, Liston, Kirkmeyer, Rankin, Woodward, Smallwood, Minority Leader Holbert, Lundin, Scott. With a vote of 21 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 138 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Fields, Lee, Jaquez Lewis, Story, Majority Leader Moreno, Buckner, Gonzalez. Please add the president. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 154?
Senate Bill 154, Senator Danielson. Senate Bill 154, Senator Danielson, Representatives McCormick and Lindsay, concerning increasing safety in assisted living residences and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 154 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the Senate for the robust discussion yesterday and urge your support for Senate Bill 154. We owe it to older people and people with disabilities to do what we can to protect them, as they are some of the most vulnerable people in the state. We as a Colorado community depend on assisted living facilities to provide critical care for our families, and a lot of them do a wonderful job with really high quality care. My family, for example, we have one of our loved ones in an assisted living facility. We depend on them, and they provide great care. But unfortunately, it is a system that allows for some of these businesses to profit off of the abuse and neglect of older people and people with disabilities. There are literally thousands of occurrences of abuse and neglect across the state in the last 3 years. During COVID, as you know, older people bore the brunt of the disease and experienced most of the loss and death across the state. While our loved ones were isolated from us when we were unable to enter some of these facilities, we were made aware of some of the more egregious examples of the abuse that was currently happening. There's also been thorough reporting on specific cases, one in my district, some in rural parts of the state, where residents were subjected to humiliation, starvation, physical abuse, sexual abuse, theft, even death. Completely preventable. We had people come to committee to tell us about what happened to their loved ones. One woman was left in a chair for 24 hours a day and eventually died from a pressure sore. That's not an accident. That's neglect. That's abuse. that resulted in the woman's death unnecessarily. We heard in committee from a woman whose mother was left, again, neglected in her assisted living facility. She was supposed to be checked on 3 times nightly to prevent her from wandering into an unsafe situation. This facility thought it was okay to check on her 1 time in 12 days. She did wander. She went outdoors into the cold and froze to death, literally feet away from the door to her assisted living facility, her residence, her home. We heard more stories about people who had experienced loss of their loved ones due to the abuse and neglect in an assisted living facility. It does happen. Although the industry might like to lead you to believe that there is no abuse, there is no neglect, it happens far too frequently. What the bill does is simple. We close a loophole to make sure that everyone who is an administrator of an assisted living facility has some basic level of training and experience in caring for older Coloradans. Currently, families are experiencing the reality of being involuntarily evicted from their home in an assisted living facility. And they have no grievance process and they have no appeal process. So we established one, which brings it into line with nursing home residents, Medicaid pay assisted living, now private pay. Consumers also have an appeals process that they can follow if they get evicted from their home. And third, we remove a cap on fines for abuse and neglect that's been in place for a long, long time at $2,000 per year per company. $2,000 per year per company. That's the most offensive piece of all of this when I talk to my friends and neighbors, when constituents of mine have come to describe to me the abuse that their loved ones experience in assisted living. And when you're paying upwards of $10,000 per month per resident, it is difficult for them to understand how the state can allow this to happen. One tool in our toolbox that we don't allow the state to use is to hit these companies in the pocketbook when nothing else is working to bring them in line and to quit abusing their residents. It's an important tool. It's not the only tool that they have. But it's time to update the state's ability to enforce these rules, these laws, and to protect some of our most vulnerable citizens. For the members of the senior community, older Coloradans, people with disabilities, this is a measure that will reduce the occurrence of abuse in these facilities. The Center on Aging, the AARP, the Cross Disability Coalition, the Alzheimer's Association of Colorado, the Association of Retired Americans Colorado chapter, the Area Agencies on Aging, Dr. Cog, these are all organizations that exist to advocate for the well-being of senior citizens and people with disabilities. They agree that this bill will not harm a business's ability to provide care. What it will do is make it more difficult for them to abuse their residences, to abuse their residents. The bill will make it more difficult for them to abuse the people who are currently in their care. And if someone continues to do this, if a business continues to profit off of the neglect and the abuse of older people and people with disabilities, and continues to receive fines over and over and over again, the fear from the industry that they have described to us is that they may be put out of business. You know what I say? Stop abusing your residents. And if you can't, perhaps you should go out of business because you are in the business of caring for vulnerable people. Like I said, there are a lot of companies who will not be negatively impacted by this bill because they do not engage their business in this way. They don't rely on the abuse and neglect of others to make money. They provide really high quality care for our friends and loved ones. But for those who need to be pulled back into compliance, to quit abusing their residents, we have to pass this bill in order to do our part as the state to ensure the safety and protection of those we love. Thank you. I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 154 to increase safety in assisted living facilities.
Further discussion. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. So I appreciate the amendment work that was done yesterday on Senate Bill 154. I still plan on voting no on this bill and would encourage you to consider doing the same. I think if I worked at CDPHE, I'd be pretty hot right now. Because remember, these facilities aren't operating without regulation in the wild, wild west and have only the fear of a fine to have them do the right thing as it relates to taking care of folks in these facilities. I'm looking at the Code of Colorado regulations right now in Chapter 7. And colleagues, we have 71 pages of regulations. I'm not even talking about what the good senator from Weld County talked about yesterday as far as what's in statute. I'm talking about what's in regulation. 71 pages of regulations regarding assisted living facilities. Definitions of everything you've heard about. Mistreatment, abuse, neglect, these are all defined. Requirements around policies and procedures. And colleagues, I have maybe not unlimited or perhaps not even the most confidence in government. I don't think I've ever been accused of that. But as the current chair of the audit committee and having served on audit committee for 6 years, and many of you serving with me on audit committee, I'm trying my best to recall the last time we had a request from any of you colleagues or our colleagues in the House to the audit committee to state that, you know what, CDPHE is doing a lousy job in taking care of seniors in assisted living facilities. And I'd ask the senators from Denver to correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen such an audit request and it's just not coming to mind right now. But I think we need to ask ourselves, if we have a pervasive problem in state government when it comes to regulating any facility, I don't care if it's assisted living, if it's nursing home, if it's hospital, if we're doing such a lousy job as a state in protecting our seniors, shouldn't we have audited these folks a long time ago? Performance audit to figure out how it is that all of these things are happening? Because colleagues, what I would submit to you is that the state of Colorado and CDPHE should be doing what they're authorized to do if this is happening, and that is shutting down these facilities, because they can do that. We're not just stuck in some world where if we have a bad actor running an assisted living facility, they're just going to get slapped with a measly $2,000 fine and go about their merry way. If one of these facilities is doing harm to our seniors, I don't know about you, but I would fully expect the state of Colorado to shut them down, and they can. But we've decided not to go that route, apparently. What we're going to do instead is pretend like perhaps these 71 pages of regulations and everything else that you're reading in statute books isn't anywhere close to enough, and that somehow, magically, a $2,000 fine changing to a $15,000 fine is going to change the egregious and repugnant state of affairs that we're in, or that CDPHE is allegedly in as a regulatory body. And if you can't tell from my tone, I don't agree with that. I think when we try to set sky-high caps or no caps at all on fines, knowing full well that CDPHE can shut down any facility due to poor performance, that all we're doing is, in practice, logistically, making it virtually impossible for a lot of these small facilities to even obtain the insurance that's required, and certainly being able to afford it. And is that what we want? Do we want to live in a state where the smallest assisted living facilities, and colleagues, I'm talking about 3 beds, 4 beds, 6 beds. These smallest facilities, these aren't giant corporate-owned Wall Street conglomerates printing money on the backs of our seniors and their families. We heard them in testimony. A lot of these are small, family-owned facilities. And I'm really, really worried that what we're trying to do is put them in a situation where they simply cannot survive as an enterprise. They'll go out of business. And then what are we left with? Then what are we left with for our seniors? For those folks that need assisted living? What are we left with? Now we're left with only those organizations that can write a $15,000 check, or a giant premium for an insurance policy that, as the introduced bill says, and who knows what the bill that comes over from the House might say, that has no caps whatsoever. Colleagues, is that what we want? Is that really what we want? Or, alternatively, perhaps, should we do what I think we should have done in the first place, which is identify if we've got a department in the state of Colorado that we are indirectly responsible for as lawmakers. If they're not doing their job, why aren't we auditing them and forcing them to make those changes? Instead of going to every business and mandating that whether you're a great facility or the worst facility, that we're now going to make you reach these, in some cases, unattainable levels of liability protection. Could have just gone to CDPHE. Said, look, we're expecting more from you. If what you've heard today is accurate, and we have rampant mistreatment in these facilities, abuse, neglect, shouldn't we be shutting them down instead of fining them $15,000? Should they even be open, colleagues? I think this is misguided. I think it is an unfair and unwarranted attack on the facilities that are doing a good job. And I think we would all agree the vast majority of these facilities are doing a good job or a great job. And we should ask CDPHE to go after the ones that aren't. Give them the resources to go after the ones that aren't, instead of trying to bankrupt all of them. And if not bankrupt it, make it to where they can't obtain insurance, so they might as well be bankrupt. The policy's not even available to you. I find this legislation dangerous. If we, colleagues, move something like this forward and now have to deal with the next problem, which is there aren't enough assisted living facilities in our state, and then there aren't enough nursing homes in our state, and then there aren't enough rehabilitation hospitals in our state, and so on and so forth. If every time an enterprise in our state does something wrong or horrible or egregious, instead of fixing that and regulating that, instead what we're going to do is try to find their entire industry out of existence, I really worry about the unintended consequences of that. And your vote today is telling the state what you think about this. Route A, Route B. What is the right way to go? Try to find these organizations out of existence, or actually do our jobs and make sure that the state regulates them the way they're supposed to regulate them? And come to the audit committee and meet with your colleagues here who sit on that committee and say, you know what, CDPHE, you're not doing a good enough job.
Senator Smallwood, would you like to go into your next 10 minutes?
No, thank you. Mr. President, can I wrap up?
Sure.
May I wrap up? So colleagues, your vote today is not just a vote about assisted living. Because today, right now, we're talking about assisted living. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about nursing homes, or rehabilitation hospitals, or dialysis clinics, or general hospitals, or anything else where our citizens are put in the situation of potentially with lousy, horrible actors in industry mistreating, abusing, neglecting people. So I respectfully ask for your no vote. Think about this one, colleagues. On Senate Bill 154, join me in a no vote. Thank you.
The motion is the passage of Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that there's been some doubt cast as to whether or not these problems exist. It happened in committee. My integrity was even brought into question over the issue. It's happening in the floor. In 2019, 2020, and 2021 alone, there were 2,091 validated occurrences of physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, misappropriation of property, neglect, and death. There were 127 substantiated occurrences reported by other people for physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, misappropriation of property, neglect, and death in 3 years. The problem exists. The CDPHE is there to monitor and hold these companies in line. The CDPHE does not own residences. The CDPHE doesn't provide care for these people. The businesses do. That is literally what they are in business to do. Make money by taking care of older people and people with disabilities who need care. The CDPHE has a number of tools to regulate, monitor, and hopefully course correct when something does go wrong. Thousands of substantiated occurrences of abuse and neglect over the course of 3 years. Thousands, plural. They have the ability to help the management of these facilities, to put in a plan of correction, to help monitor that. They do have the right to revoke licenses, but that is not the goal of mine, and that is not the goal of the seniors that are proponents of this measure or people with disabilities. Rather than revoking someone's license, we would like to enable the state to use another tool to help in that course correction and bring them back into compliance to continue providing this critical care for our loved ones who need help. Why should we not allow the state to do that? It may prevent some of these businesses from going out of business if they need a little extra help seeing clearly how serious the problem is that they are perpetuating over and over and over and over again. We are not talking about insignificant problems or mistakes. We are talking about the abuse of older people, vulnerable people, people with disabilities, at the hands of their caregivers and the businesses who employ them. This is not an insignificant problem. This is not a problem being perpetuated by the department. This is a problem being perpetuated by the businesses who provide assisted living care. It is real. And if you don't know that, you need to go and talk to the families in your districts who have experienced this. The thousands of incidents that occur across the state are not unique to the metro area. They're also not unique to large facilities. The people who came to committee to talk to us about their personal experiences, for the most part, had their loved ones in small facilities where they died because of abuse. It is not unique to the large facilities. It is not unique to the Denver metro area. Of the thousands of occurrences that happened in the last 3 years, we'll focus in on Weld County, where one of the most egregious cases was covered thoroughly in the press, the Triangle Cross Ranch. The total number of incidences just in Weld County were 76. Physical abuse, 29. Neglect, 8. Sexual abuse, 4. Verbal abuse, 9. Brain injury, 4. Misappropriation of property, 6. Missing persons, 16. I don't need to go on. It's a significant problem. There isn't only one solution, but before you today, we have a piece of the puzzle to help stop this crisis, to allow businesses to continue to provide the service for our community, but disallow them from profiting off of the abuse and neglect of older people and people with disabilities. Thousands of incidences, substantiated occurrences that include physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, misappropriation of property, neglect, and among other things, death. You heard the people in committee pleading with the members on the committee to understand how much they wish they had not had their loved one in that place. And what is common amongst all of these constituents who come and talk to me is the guilt that they express for not doing more to pull their loved ones out of these horrific scenarios sooner, as if the fault is theirs. It is a common thread that I noticed when listening to these families who have been traumatized by their loss, that they put that guilt on themselves. They should have been a better advocate. They should have pulled their loved ones out of these horrible places earlier. It is not the family's fault. It is the assisted living facility's fault. And we have a tool to help stop that from continuing to happen. And these families came to us to say, it is too late for my mother who was killed, but I am coming here to you today to plead with you to do something so that other families don't experience what we did. That is an honorable effort that I can sympathize with. And I have so much respect for them because it is a difficult, difficult task to come to us and explain their trauma. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the details have been covered on this bill. I just want to reiterate a couple of points. And I probably have more experience with assisted living facilities than most of us. I mean, wonderful people took care of my parents. I mean, just fantastic treatment, made it a family event. So I feel very close to the industry and the people that do that. I also often come to the podium and talk about this urban-rural divide. And it's true, there may be problems throughout the state, but the solutions are not common. It's just not the same when you are dealing with the small assisted living in my hometown. I would rather, if they have problems recruiting a manager and training them, I would rather help them than punish them. This bill does not do that. Yesterday we had some wonderful veterans, my comrades, sitting in the back of the room, and it made me think about something relative to this bill. After World War II, the United States military strategy focused on precision-guided weapons to reduce collateral damage. This bill says to heck with collateral damage. We're going to bomb the whole thing. We're going to assume that everybody's bad. We're going to go in there and inspect them, and we're going to punish them, regardless of where they are, what their difficulties are with their business, what their difficulties are with hiring people, what their population is like, what the impact is on families like mine who live there and want their loved one nearby. So I would just want to ask that we look at, can't we solve these problems using primarily the tools we already have, which have been discussed, where actually precision attacks on problems that have local solutions. This bill is not good for rural Colorado. It's not good for the assisted living homes that I visit, where my friends are starting to go. I urge a no vote.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the comments from good senator from Carbondale. I just want to be crystal clear on this, colleagues, in case I miscommunicated in any way. I don't think you heard me say when I was standing here that there are no cases of fraud, of abuse, of neglect, of mistreatment of residences in assisted living facilities. It's not my point at all. My point at all, colleagues, is not that bad things don't ever happen and there aren't horrible actors that need to be put out of business. But as you heard from my colleague from Carbondale, we have two ways of addressing it. Unlimited fines, like the introduced bill stated, or proper regulation. So what I would ask you is, which path do you want to choose? If there aren't any of these facilities left, have we really solved the problem? Because insurance is unobtainable for these facilities. Have we solved the problem? If a facility is fined, make up a number, $15,000 as a nudge instead of $2,000, have we solved the problem? Or have we solved the problem when the bad actors have been shut down by the state of Colorado? If you have a family member in an assisted living facility who is mistreating persons with disabilities or seniors, abusing them, neglecting them, and you have a choice to either have that organization, that institution, fined or put out of business, colleagues, what's your choice? Candidly, it seems pretty simple to me. So my opposition to Senate Bill 154 has nothing to do with a belief that abuse, mistreatment never happens. It's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's two ways to solve a problem. Nobody, to my recollection, and I don't think from my colleagues' recollection, has come to the audit committee saying we're not doing a good enough job as state government in taking care of this problem, and I'd ask you to make the right choice. Ask for a no vote on Senate Bill 154.
The motion is the passage of Senate Bill 154. Are there any no votes? Senators Gardner, Minority Leader Holbert, Rankin, Simpson, Liston, Heisey, Kirkmeyer, Sonnenberg, Woodward, Smallwood, Lundin, Scott. With 21 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 154 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Jaquez Lewis, Winter, Story, Kolker, Pedersen, Majority Leader Moreno. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I
Senator
move
Fields.
the Senate proceed out of order.
Senator Fields, just one moment. Will the clerk please add Senator Gonzalez and Senator Buckner as co-sponsors to Senate Bill 154? Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
The motion is to proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. The Senate will proceed out of order. Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, I'm here to pay tribute. Mr. President, I request for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I ask for this privilege today to acknowledge a family that I've grown to love and adore. And we have something in common. And what we have in common is something that's not easy to acknowledge, because we come together because we grieve. We come together because we're surviving the grief that we have to live with every single day. Mr. President and colleagues, I'm talking about the family and the daughter. Her name is Kiana Arello, and she passed away. And before she passed away, this chamber, well, the House chamber, named a bill after her. And the bill was concerning harassment through an interactive electronic medium. This family has endured what it's like when your daughter has been bullied through an electronic means. And you know, when you are at home on your computer, you can do this anonymously. Sometimes you might know who it is, and then sometimes you don't. But when you see people liking what is on that message that you receive, and you're a young person, then some folks aren't able to handle, some kids aren't able to handle what goes on in the minds of at least young people that are bullied. Sometimes as parents, we might not know when someone has been bullied. But what this family did is that they were able to stand on the story. I'm not quite sure. This happened in 2015, so this happened a long time ago. So I don't know who called who. I don't know if I called you guys or you called me, but we connected and we bonded. This young girl, when she passed away, I believe, well, she went to school, looks like in 2016, and she completed her degree at Douglas County Bridge Program in 2020. And prior to that, I believe she went to school, let's see that right, in Rock Canyon High School in 2016. She then later started a program at High Point Services just this year. She lived with her parents, and they took care of her, and they loved her. And she stayed with her brother, her father, her mother, and of course she had a kinship and a loving relationship with her grandparents. Kiana was very bright. She was a cheerleader. And I had a chance to see her photos in her cute little cheerleading outfit. And if you ever seen a cheerleading outfit, you know, it has the pleats on the top and pom-poms. And she was a cheerleader. But I can tell the family today that she's in heaven, and she is a cheerleader with the angels. So she is with the angels today. So, Mr. President, I'm going to read the tribute that you have signed on my behalf for the family, and it reads, "The Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened in the second regular session of the 73rd General Assembly hereby honors your daughter. The members of the Colorado Senate and all are all united in our desire to pay our respect and tribute to your loving daughter, sister, friend, for the way that she portrayed her bravery. She was in a wheelchair, so navigating this building is never easy. I'm quite sure it was extremely intimidating for her and for the family. But they made their way in the House chambers, testified in committee, and shared their story. Later, they came and they sat on the benches in the House, and they watched as we voted on the passing of the legislation which was named after her. The House bill was 1072. There's several members here that voted for this bill. Majority Leader Moreno, Senator Danielson, Senator Pedersen, President Garnett, and Senator Corm at the time. Also in the Senate at the time, in 2015, Senator Donovan signed the bill. And so the tribute goes on to talk about the trips that I talked about that she made to the state capitol. She told her story. She was an advocate and a champion to make sure that these kinds of things never happen to any other family or another person again. She became a diligent advocate for supporters of suicide prevention, and so we extend our deepest respect and tribute to the family, and we know that she is resting in heaven with those angels, and she's in the cheerleading section. On request of Senator Fields, given the first day of April 2022, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, and it is signed by our dear President, Senator Stephen Finberg, our President of the Senate. Thank you, members.
Senator Fields.
Colleague Senator President Finberg, I'd like to ask the family to please stand. Thank you for loving Kiana. Despite the challenges she endured, thank you. Grief is never easy to deal with, but you have, and you have survived. So to the dad, thank you for your love and your contribution and your support through this entire journey. I want to thank the mom, Christy, for the same level of support. You guys never stopped loving her. To the sister that's here today, also thank you for your love, Caitlin. and for the brother Tyler, and to the grandmother Dottie, and also for those beloved dogs, Gucci and Maverick. I want to thank you for your long-standing, long-fasted, steadfast support for your daughter. And I know that she's looking down on us right now, and she's proud of the work that she did while she was here on earth. Thank you for your presence today. Thank you so very much. Let's give them a clap. Thank you, Mr. President, for this privilege to honor this family. Thank you.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. I just wanted to introduce two people who came today to the Capitol. As you know, we just passed out of the Senate the Senate Bill 150, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives, addressing the crisis in Colorado. And I wanted to introduce two members of the MMIR, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Task Force, and also, incidentally, both members of the Denver American Indian Commission. Please stand, Donna Christian and Raven Payment. Thank you, everyone. I want to say these two individuals, alongside many other leaders in the indigenous community across Colorado, including, again, the governments of the Ute, Mountain Ute, and the Southern Ute Indian Tribe, a number of outstanding women who are not here today, who I have been privileged and honored to work alongside as they craft the MMIR legislation from the community, for the community, could not be here today. As you know, things move quickly in the Senate. And if they happen to be listening, I want to thank them also, and thank the two women who are in the chamber today for their diligent hard work, their dedication, telling of powerful stories that can be very painful at times, sticking to the issue, holding people accountable, and getting work done. It is my absolute honor to work with these women and the rest of the women around the coalition who support the measure, the tribal governments of both of the tribes. It's been an honor of probably of my whole career. And thank you for joining us today and for your work going forward.
General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general order, second reading of the bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Coleman will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the cult rule is relaxed for everybody up in here. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1291?
House Bill 1291, Representative Weissman, Senator Janal, concerning the Sunrise Review proposed regulation of an unregulated professional or occupational group.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are no committee reports, and I move House Bill 1291.
To the bill, Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill makes the sunrise process. I know a lot of people are familiar with the sunset process, but there is a sunrise process. It makes it more timely. I'm getting serenaded now. And streamlined. So it clarifies why this report may or may not be necessary. As you know, DORA is tasked with many sunsets, as well as advisory committee reviews and sunrises. And so it adjusts the timelines so that it's more efficient and it doesn't have to wait a couple of sessions before an unregulated professional group wants to get licensure and ask for this process. It also has a number of other things in this bill which would help to streamline the sunrise process as far as reporting goes, dates and times, 2/3 of states already have an oversight program in this particular area. And it also may not conduct a sunrise review if it appears to have 250 or less individuals. And I ask for your support on House Bill 1291.
Senator Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I heard this bill in committee, and I was a yes, and I believe it passed out of committee unanimously. There was some concern, some scuttle that perhaps we were opening DORA up to perhaps pursuing some professions that may not need to be regulated. So I appreciate the senator from Fort Collins for spending some time with me and pointing me in the direction and helping me do some research just to make sure that this bill is in fact everything that it was set out to be. And the good senator from Fort Collins has been very helpful in frequently and constantly pursuing transparency and efficiency in government. And I think that I'm glad that we had the chance to hear this bill, that she had a chance to present this in front of us today. Instead of putting on the consent calendar where we may have missed it, this is a chance for all of us to come around and support a bill of transparency and efficiency. And I appreciate this bill, and I look forward to a yes vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The sunrise process was the first thing that I worked on 21 years ago when I started working outside the glass. I saw a bill during the mid to late 2000s that I put on my list that if I were ever a member, I would try to reverse. And I was unsuccessful in making that reversal in 2011, my first year in the House, and then successful with work with DORA in getting that reversal in 2012. For purely personal experience reasons, I'm going to be a no vote on 1291. I like the delay. I think that was the original intent of Representative Jerry Copel and I think Senator Steve Durham back years ago, decades ago, when the sunrise process was established. I do understand the efficiency, the comments of my friend who spoke before. I understand those efficiencies and would encourage you to embrace them and even to vote yes on the bill. But I just want to come up and explain this is something I've worked on for 21 years, and I rather like the delay, the inefficiencies that were built into the system to restrict, regulate, control, limit the amount of regulation that the General Assembly applies to anyone out there who isn't already regulated. The odd terminology is previously unregulated profession or professionals, some business organization. And when I'm talking to groups outside the Capitol about the sunrise process, I jokingly refer to left-handed waiters wanting to be licensed to differentiate themselves from right-handed waiters, or ambidextrous waiters. But you've of course seen a lot of people come in and want to be licensed or registered, some sort of state level regulation. I appreciate the sponsors' attempt to make it more efficient, but I think in the future, those of you who will be here, you'll probably see a more steady stream of regulatory requests and proposals, and I would like to see the sort of log jam or intentional delay to make sure that groups come in, they wait for that October 15th report, and then they've got 2 years to be regulated, and if they don't get it in 2 years, they have to try again. So I'll be a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1291. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1291 is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I request that we rise and report. The motion is to rise and report.
The motion for the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senator Donovan.
Just one.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1291 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1291 passed on second reading and order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. The Senate will stand in a senatorial 5.
Ready for a committee.
Committee reports.
April 22nd, 2022, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 5 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 145 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 159 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be recommended to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 165 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 168 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 181 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 182 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 192 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 214 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up Senate Bill 212, 168, and Senate Bill 181 on special orders consent calendar at the hour of 11:11.
The motion is that the Senate take up Senate Bills 212, 168, and 181 on special orders consent at the hour of 11:11 a.m. This requires a two-thirds majority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will take up Senate Bills 212, 168, and 181 on special orders consent at the hour of 11:11 a.m. Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself as Committee of the Whole consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Coleman will take the chair.
Committee will come to order and the court rules relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on the special order, second reading of the bills, consent calendar?
Senate Bill 212, Senators Lee and Cook, Representatives Harrod and Soper, concerning the non-substantive revision of statutes in the Colorado Revised Statutes as amended and in connection therewith amending or repealing obsolete, imperfect, and inoperative law to preserve the legislative intent, effect, and meaning of the law. Senate Bill 168, Senators Donovan and Rankin, Representatives McCluskey and Will, concerning support for backcountry research and rescue services in Colorado. Senate Bill 181, Senators Bridges and Simpson, Representative Cutter and Van Beber, concerning the Behavioral Health Administration's plan to address issues regarding the delivery of behavioral health care services in this state.
Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of all the bills on consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which include Senate Bill 112 and the associated Judiciary Committee report, Senate Bill 168 and the associated Ag and Natural Resource Committee report, as well as the associated Appropriations Committee report, and Senate Bill 181 and the associated Health and Human Services Committee report, as well as the associated Appropriation Committee report.
And Madam Assistant Majority Leader, just to be clear, that was Senate Bill 212 and the associated committee report, correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Assistant Majority Leader. Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? The motion for the body is the adoption of the committee reports on special order, second reading of the bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion for the body is adoption of all the bills on the special orders, second reading of the bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
Motions for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills in consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 212 as amended, Senate Bill 168 as amended, Senate Bill 181 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Will the clerk please mark Senators Lundin and Holbert as excused? Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 4 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 212 is amended. Senate Bill 168 is amended. Senate Bill 181 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up Senate Bill 159, Senate Bill 165, Senate Bill 182, Senate Bill 192, and 214 on special orders at 11:15.
The motion is that the Senate take up Senate Bills 159, 165, 182, 192, and 214 at the hour of 11:15 a.m. This requires a two-thirds majority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those bills on special orders at the hour of 11:15 a.m. Special orders, second reading of bills. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself as a committee of the whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. It's a tie. However, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Coleman will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the Colt rule is relaxed for everybody up in here. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 159?
Senate Bill 159 by Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, Representatives Ortiz and Will, concerning the creation of a revolving loan fund within the Division of Housing and the Department of Local Affairs to make investments in transformational affordable housing.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 159 and the Local Government Report, the Finance Committee Report, and the Appropriations Committee Report.
To the Local Government Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
We made a number of adjustments to the eligibility criteria of the program, and we ask for your aye vote.
Motion is the adoption of the Local Government Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Local Government Committee report is adopted. To the Finance Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We discussed the definition of affordable housing and made some adjustments on the priority recommendations. We ask for an aye vote.
Motion is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Finance Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
We appropriated the money for the program.
Motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L012?
Amendment L012 by Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, amend.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L012.
To the amendment, Senator Bridges.
This is to make it clear exactly who it is that's eligible.
The motion is the adoption of Amendment L012. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L012 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I renew the motion for the passage of 159.
Motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 159. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 159 is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 165?
Senate Bill 165, Senator Bridges, Representative Lindsay, concerning the creation of the Colorado Career Advisor Training Program.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 165, the Education Report and the Appropriations Report.
As a proper motion to the Education Committee report, Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We made some minor tweaks. Good bill.
Motion is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Education Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriation Committee report, Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We got rid of the continuous appropriation and made it on.
The motion is the adoption of the Appropriation Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Appropriation Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Bridges.
I move, renew my motion for the passage of the bill.
The motion is the passage of Senate Bill 165. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 165 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 182?
Senate Bill 182, Senators Hansen and Quorum, Representative Doty, concerning measures to address economic mobility for Coloradans and in connection therewith creating the Economic Mobility Program within the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 182 on second reading and the Appropriations Committee report.
The Appropriations Committee report, Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Appropriations Committee, we added the one-stop program at Colorado higher ed institutions, which added a very small appropriation to accomplish that goal, and urge your adoption of the committee report.
The motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Appropriations Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Members, just in a quick summary, Senate Bill 182 provides or uses $4 million of ARPA outreach for outreach around EITC and the child tax credit. We know that if folks are taking advantage of that they typically continue to take advantage of it. Unfortunately, we only have about a 50% utilization rate right now. So Coloradans leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table, so to speak. We think the payoff here is going to be tremendous and is likely to add about $250 million to the Colorado economy as a result of Senate Bill 182. So I think a great investment of $4 million, and I urge your support.
Motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 182. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 182 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 192?
Senate Bill 192, Senators Zenzinger and Simpson, Representatives Esgar and Catlin, concerning the creation of opportunities for credential attainment and in connection with making an appropriation.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 192 and the Education Committee report and the Appropriations report.
To the Education Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
We made an amendment regarding when the money must be expended. We also included that we must reference business organizations and a representative industry. We also made some additions to the ledge deck, and we included a definition that was left out, and then we also made it clear that this program is eligible to two-year programs in CSU Pueblo, Adams, and CMU, and we ask for an aye vote.
Motion to adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Education Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriation Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appropriated the money for the program.
Motion is the adoption of the Appropriation Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Appropriation Committee report is adopted. There's an amendment of the desk. Will the clerk please read L006?
Amendment L006 by
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment removes the continuous appropriation.
And please move the amendment.
I move Amendment L006.
The motion is the adoption of L006. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L006 is adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I renew the motion for the passage of Senate Bill 192 on second reading.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 192. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 192 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 214?
Senate Bill 214, Senators Hansen and Rankin, Representative McCluskey, concerning a transfer from the general fund to the para payment cash fund.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 214 on second reading.
To the bill.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 214, very straightforward, where it's a JBC bill that refills the para payment cash fund, making sure that we can keep our retirees in a good financial spot and para solvent. So I urge your support for 214.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 214. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 214 is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rising report.
The motion for the committee's rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills in consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 159 is amended. Senate Bill 165 is amended. Senate Bill 182 is amended. Senate Bill 192 is amended. Senate Bill 214 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 4 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 159 is amended. Senate Bill 165 is amended. Senate Bill 182 is amended. Senate Bill 192 is amended. Senate Bill 214 passed on second reading and order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all of the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Members of the Energy Impact Assistance Advisory Committee for terms expiring August 24, 2025, Jillian Laycock of Huco, Colorado, appointed. Barbara Bynum of Montrose, Colorado, appointed. Jeanette Gigi Dennis Lounsbury of Monte Vista, Colorado, appointed. Members of the Front Range Passenger Rail District Board for terms expiring April 1, 2024, James Suby of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative of Transportation and Public Finance, appointed. Jose Soto of Pueblo West, Colorado, to serve as a representative supporting a statewide employee organization, appointed. Joshua Lapley of Lakewood, Colorado, to serve as a representative of Public, appointed, for a term expiring April 1, 2026. Salvatore Pache of Pueblo, Colorado, to serve as a representative of Passenger Train Development or Operations, appointed.
Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of all the appointments listed on the consent calendar, which includes members of the Energy Impact Assistance Advisory Committee and members of the Front Range Passenger Rail District Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 4 excused, all of the appointments are confirmed. Message from the governor.
Thursday, April 21st, 2022, Colorado Senate. Honorable members of the Colorado Senate, pursuant to the authority vested in the office of the Governor of the State of Colorado, I have the honor to inform you that I have approved and filed with the Secretary of State the following act: Senate Bill 32, Simplified Local Sales and Use Tax Administration, approved on Thursday, April 21st, 2022 at 1:38 p.m. Sincerely, Jared Polis, Governor.
Members, today is a special day because this weekend is a special weekend. Tomorrow is Senator Scott's birthday. That's why he's still online. He is turning 93. But also, the next day is the Senate Secretary's birthday, and she is turning 39. Believe it or not. So will the Senate choir please assemble for this very special set of birthdays?
One key.
My best to belt it out. My best.
Me, 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 me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stephanie. Happy birthday to you.
Members, there are a lot of cupcakes over there by the press table, so please help yourself.
They are amazing. Who made those? Oh my God.
Announcements. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal announcement.
Granted.
I don't know which one it is. Colleagues, we come to the podium to remind our friends and listeners and other senators of exciting things that are happening for folks across Colorado. I would like to announce that tonight is the season 14 finale of RuPaul's Drag Race. And we have a Colorado kid who is in the finale, Willow Pill. She is incredible. But Colorado is gaining quite the reputation of being a drag queen incubator. This will be the third Coloradan who is on RuPaul's Drag Race, and Willow Pill has a chance to be the second champion. Because of course we had, as you will all recall, I'm sure, Evie Oddly win a couple years ago. And the very first season, we also had Nina Flowers on, who was on the very first season of RuPaul's Drag Race. So when we talk about all the great things that Colorado produces and encourages and allows folks to do and flourish in their passions, I think in all seriousness, it is very cool to once again have someone competing at the highest levels. And so we wish Willow Pill best of luck as she competes in season 14 Grand Champion finale to be RuPaul's drag queen on the heels. And I believe that she comes from the House of Oddly. So we are starting quite the reputation here. Thank you, colleagues.
Any other announcements? Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a peculiar announcement. It's a kind of a tentative announcement that the Judiciary Committee next week may meet on Tuesday to hear the fentanyl bill. I say it's a tentative announcement because the fentanyl bill has not moved to the Senate yet. It's still on seconds in the House, thirds in the House. But when it comes over here, we want to get it in committee as soon as we can. Normally we would meet on Thursday, but I want to try to get it in committee Tuesday just because of the calendar and the deliberative process. So tentatively, anyone who's interested in the fentanyl bill, be prepared to come to committee next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. That may change, but that's the plan at this point in time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements? Seeing none, Assistant Majority Leader Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until Monday, April the 25th at 10 a.m.
Senator Fields, I think we're going to recess until later today. Perhaps noon?
Resource for today.
Ish.
Yeah, it's the same thing, just until 10 a.m. today.
Senator Fields.
Mr. President, I have a correction to make. I move that the Senate recess until 12 noon today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Members, just to clarify, you do not need to be here. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until noon today.